All right, and welcome into the Betting Pros podcast. It's August, which means the MLB Trade Deadline has come and gone. Angry Pirates fans, they're already running amok here in Western Pennsylvania. It's a tale as old as time, but what does it mean for the future betting markets? That's what we're going to tell you in this episode. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, and to help us get to the bottom of it all, I'm joined by the two hosts of Leading Off Moving Forward, Chris Welsh and the great Joe Orrico from up north. Welsh, have you finally exhaled after all the movement over the past 48 hours or so?
Not really. We're kind of still reeling from the whole thing. Winners, losers. I think I saw something. It was like 60 or 90 prospects somewhere in there that were traded during the deadline. I'm a prospect guy. A ton of implications. And, you know, we're going to talk about some of the teams that made moves that I think are going to have some impact on bets we might be comfortable taking a shot at. And then obviously, clearly, where some of the lines are locking in. So crazy deadline. Deep breath, everybody. Let's see what we can make of it.
Joe, how are you hanging in there, man? I know it was a pretty busy week both on the content front, and I'm sure your DMs right now are just getting buried with all the questions from the action.
Do I drop David Bednar? Do I drop Camilo Doval? Do I pick up this guy?
Yes.
It's crazy, but we love it. Like every year, Welsh and I were talking about this a couple days ago, and he asked me, do you expect this to be like a busy deadline? And I was like, I think it's going to be kind of under the radar, and then just an explosion. Yeah. It was, I couldn't even keep track of it. I was trying to keep track of it in an article I was writing yesterday. I was like, all right, I'll do a little write-up for every trade. And then there's 32 trades or something. So it's like, okay, this is going to take me a bit longer than I thought. But great to be on with you guys. I was on Leading Off yesterday, went 3 for 3 on the bets. So we're hot, baby. Let's keep it going.
Rocket.
All right, man. Today's program looks like this. We'll dive into the biggest movers of the team futures and the individual player award markets. We're also going to kind of get into the guys' strategy for capitalizing on a market that is in flux post-deadline. And, of course, we'll round out the show giving you our favorite long shots for the rest of the way. And before we get going, shout out to everyone who's watching us either on the Betting Pros YouTube channel or listening on the audio feed. The easiest way to support us, first, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy this type of content. Also, make sure you're subscribing if you're new. We got a ton of content coming your way this fall. You want to be included in that. Want to make sure you don't miss a second of it. Also, let us know down in the comments below your favorite current future values. We want to hear from you. And boys, let's go ahead and dive into the team future markets. A lot of bobbing and weaving over the past 48 hours, as we noted. So, Welsh, who is the biggest positive or negative movers since our last show, perhaps due to some of the deadline moves?
I don't know what the move has looked like from where they were to where they are now, but a bet that I really like is San Diego for the World Series at 20-1 right now, because again, the San Diego Padres, if we're talking about the trade deadline making an impact on either where these bets have moved or bets that we now like, I love 20-1 for the Padres right now. I think divisionally, they're a solid bet. I think with them bringing in Mason Miller, bringing in the bats, they covered all the holes. You can get those starting pitchers to not go as deep as you need to. That I would look at, I think these are two of the biggest winners from the deadline, the Mariners and Padres. So if you don't like specifically what I'm saying of like Seattle division or Padres to win the World Series or even to make the World Series, I'll just throw you at, you should pay attention to these two teams in the betting market and play it however you want. Division to make the World Series, to win. I'm looking all across the board because I think these two teams are teams that are going to be very scary in short series. They both look like they're aligned for the playoffs. So I gave you a couple that I personally like, but I think I'm wide open to any type of bet that you want to leverage with these teams. If you wanted to take San Diego to win the division as well, I think that's a really good bet.
Joe, when you're looking at either the World Series market, to win the division or make the playoff market, are there any risers and fallers that you've been kind of tracking over the past week or so with all the movement happening across the bigs?
So this one literally hurts me to my soul. I'm usually on this channel or on Fantasy Pros wearing a Blue Jays hat, but today I'm going to be telling you to bet the Yankees. And I just think when you look at what they did in their pen, you know, reasonable people can defer on who has the better bullpen, but Devin Williams, David Bednar, Camilo Doval, Luke Weaver, Jonathan Loaizaga, if he ever gets back to what he used to be, that could be nasty. The starting rotation, I think they probably should have added another arm there, but Rodon, Fried, Warren, I think that's solid. And then you have the lineup, which has been one of the better lineups in baseball, buoyed by Aaron Judge, who has been out, but Aaron Judge is expected to return in a couple days. So when I look at the Yankees in the American League East as a whole, this feels like a very winnable division for them. They're 3.5 back of the Blue Jays right now. You can get them at plus 150. I look at run differential a lot, and the Blue Jays, as much as I love them dearly, they have a 23 run differential for the whole season. It ranks 4th in the American League East, and the Yankees are at plus 99. They've won their last 3 games. They're going to be getting Judge back. I think this bullpen is phenomenal. So I think they are worth a sprinkle for the division. And any other kind of bets you want to look at for the Yankees, if you think they can go all the way, I wouldn't put it past you if that's where you're at right now, especially if you're just looking at like winning the American League. I think the Yankees are a good team to bet on from a number of different angles right now.
Welsh, what do you think? Because the Yankees were certainly one of the heavier favorites to win a division throughout the entire majors earlier this season when we've been tracking this. And now they're suddenly back in the division. They have the Aaron Judge injury. Do you think they've done enough to push themselves over the top, and that plus 150 is worth the juice there for the AL East title?
What I do like is that you get the plus money on it. I feel they did enough? No, I actually kind of put them in the loser market of the trade deadline. I think the Red Sox I think are worse. I think that's the bigger problem. I think the Red Sox are much worse because they sold us that, oh, we're going to trade Devers and we're going to go get this and that. They didn't do anything. And this was their time to go make a big impactful move to take this division. So here's my only problem with it is that I just actually think the division is very gettable across the board. The Rays, who are 10 games back, they went out and made moves because they felt that they could still do something. So I think it's a 4-dog race here that I don't think the Yankees did enough. But I will say this. Kind of forgot when you lay out those closers. It is very Padres-esque. It really is maybe a 1-2, 1B. But I think those trades were like protecting Luis Gil. Like Luis Gil's a starter that Joe didn't mention that's going to come into the rotation. Yeah. Having that type of a bullpen allows Luis Gil to just stick to 5 innings. It at least allows all these guys so you don't have to go deep into games. So it is kind of a starting pitcher protection play. I think that you're getting plus money as the top dogs, or close to the top dogs. I know the Blue Jays are up right there. I think I could get down with it, but I'm not in love because I think this division has the most flux. If in 1 month from now we were like, can you believe that the Rays and the Red Sox are at the top of the division and the Blue Jays are down in the Yankees? We wouldn't be surprised. So, I would love better odds, but getting the Yankees at plus money with the bullpen moves that they just made, it's not the worst thing in the world.
I know Welsh would be pretty happy if the Red Sox came back to win
this
division with all the futures you have on them right now. Before we keep it moving, I wanted to tell everyone about the BettingPros betting systems tool that is designed to help you find winning strategies and make smarter bets. Customize your betting systems by sport, bet type, and time frame to find the best opportunities using real-time data and expert analysis. Track the performance of different betting systems over time and optimize your bets to increase your chance of success. Download the BettingPros app today or go to bettingpros.com/systems to elevate your betting strategy and start making smarter bets today. Gentlemen, let's go ahead and let's move forward to the award markets that have really seen a seismic shift over the past few weeks. And Joe Orrico, you were out front of one of these on our last program. So who is your late season momentum candidate for an award market, whether that's MVP or Cy Young?
So I will say that a lot of the odds at this point, there is a dramatic favorite, whether it's the Cy Youngs, MVPs, Rookie of the Year, even Manager of the Year. Everything seems to be minus 300 or so at the least. So you kind of have to look for these little value plays and you have to spin some narratives. And the one that I'm spinning is Cal Raleigh. And, I think Aaron Judge is going to be back in a few days. You have to take the Yankees at face value and that he's going to be fine. But you also have the chance that that elbow injury is going to affect his power. I'm going to be speaking out of both sides of my mouth a little bit in this episode, but that is a possibility that Aaron Judge comes back and he is not quite what he was before. Cal Raleigh is somebody that is essentially matching him in terms of wins above replacement. He's at 6.4, Judge is at 7.1, and Raleigh's played 4 more games. But I think that difference being as close as it is, if Raleigh gets to 50 home runs, and it looks like he probably will, he's at 42 right now, and he has an 8-win season as a catcher, if he's even close to Judge, I think that there's a chance that Raleigh gets it. Judge has a couple MVPs. There's a chance that there's some voter fatigue there, on top of the fact that maybe he is not quite peak Aaron Judge when he returns. So there's only really one alternative here to bet. It is Cal Raleigh if you are going to look for the American League MVP. And I think if you're looking at all the different markets, this is probably the one that makes sense of the guys who are not currently favored at the moment.
Well, and Joe, I think on our last show too, you got him at what, 6-7 to 1, something like that. So you were well ahead of the curve. So it kind of played into your hand very favorably. Is this Cal Raleigh's race to lose, you think, at this point, Welsh?
No, I don't think it's his race to lose. But I think he's neck and neck. Like, he's got this. We spun this whole scenario in the last show, which is very funny.
Yeah.
Not just in like, hey, Cal Raleigh could be a fun bet, but we gave the scenario. Well, what was the scenario? Judge had to get hurt. Judge had to get hurt for this market to make a drastic and seismic change. I laid out the big one in the Turek Skubal.
Yes.
And Joe laid out the Cal Raleigh one, but it was all built around the injury. We got that. The other side of one of my narrative pieces was why we would go against Cal Raleigh would be that he tapers back, the Mariners taper back. I'm against that now because the Mariners have not. I think they just won the trade deadline, and Cal Raleigh really hasn't had some big fall. So because those things didn't happen, that bet looks so good from a time before. Do I want to bet it right now at Cal Raleigh on plus money, like plus 1.5 to 1? I don't think that's a good value right now because Aaron Judge is coming back in a couple days. And if what Joe just laid out, if the Yankees are going to go and win the division and they're going to take this East, which is messy right now, it's going to be because Aaron Judge is at the forefront of it. And he's going to get a lot of juice. And he was like minus 45 billion or whatever it was before he got hurt. So you don't think that this is the opportunity, if you want, I actually think, to jump in on a minus money Judge, because if he comes back and he hits, he's going to snatch this right away. But I don't think this is going to be a unanimous one because let's say, he just gets back to like vintage Judge and stuff. Like, I think this will be a close race because of what Cal Raleigh is doing as a catcher. And the differentiating factor could be if the Mariners go on a run like I'm kind of proposing, then it's going to play out. But my main thing here is like, I just don't think Cal has this locked up. And I don't think like really low under 2-1 odds is where I would want to go. But Orrico's bet from last show looks absolutely genius right now.
So, Welsh, not only have you dabbled with the MVP odds, the Cy Young market, but you've also had some tickets for Rookie of the Year. Where are you going here? Is there any, potential late season riser, someone who's gaining momentum down the stretch that you think could make a push in an award that you are comfortable betting at their current odds after the trade deadline?
So Joe laid it out a little bit. Here's the problem with the award market. It's messy, and I think everything you've got to spin a big narrative. And this is, by the way, because I'm going to take a similar path to Joe, even though I was like, I don't really love the Cal Raleigh. There's nothing else to bet unless you are in the true gambling and you want to spin a narrative. Because, I'll give you one real quick that's not mine. I actually have this ticket, and would I love for it to cash. But, if you want to spin the narrative that Nick Kurtz could get hurt, Cam Smith is like the most insane good odd right now. If the Astros are going to pick back up, he's 25. I have a 25-1 ticket personally. I think he's 25-1 right now again.
Okay.
If Kurtz were to get hurt and miss, 3 weeks, Cam Smith, he's on a nice tear. The Astros just got some of their guys back. Like, you could absolutely see where he could get it. But that is totally speculative, and that's hard to do in this market. And all the odds, there's no NL value. I think there's kind of little value in the AL. We're talking MVP, Rookie of the Year. It's so far onto Nick Kurtz right now. It's like minus 190 in the NL for Drake Baldwin. There's just not a lot of value. Mm-hmm. The one I'm going to come back to, and this is probably, again, in the same vein of what Joe is doing, and I have had this ticket for a little while, is Zack Wheeler is still plus money. And the negative, I would suppose, is Paul Skeens is finally picking up a couple wins, which is not good. But this team looks as bad as ever. And here would be my narrative spin. Zack Wheeler right now has more wins, a better K per 9, a lower walk per 9. Doesn't have that. Skeens has ERA right now. It's sub 2, but we're talking low 2s for Zack Wheeler. And they just went out and got a closer who has moved way up in the market, who can shut down games to continue to get wins. Can they really? Let's just arguably say Paul Skeens has a 2 ERA. 2 ERA with 9 wins. Can they take that away from Zack Wheeler, who could have 16 wins and a 2.3 ERA and more strike? I don't know. I think the Phillies are going to be on a tear. I think there's a win perspective to it. Wheeler's been important. He's got more protection for wins. He's plus 130 in markets. I have much better odds earlier in the year at like 11-1. But this is probably, of all of these, I feel more comfortable about Wheeler than I do jumping in on Cal Raleigh. And unfortunately, nothing else is, I think, really bettable in the awards market. Again, unless you speculate and you want to be a gambling man and take a 25-1 Cam Smith, or you want to take a 20-1 Kyle Schwarber if something happens to Ohtani, which it was kind of floating out there. Like, those are the plays if you want to really try to make a calculated bet or play that like buyout market. You know what I'm saying? Like, you go and you get one of these guys, and then the market moves a little bit, and then you can cash out. Maybe there's a couple of those, but it's really between Wheeler, I think, and Cal Raleigh if you want like half decent odds right now.
I don't want to make this show about me, but I am the host, so I am going to. Like, what are we doing in Pittsburgh, man? Like, we get nothing back for any of these players, like single A prospects. I just don't understand. And then we have all these expiring contracts. We just leave them on the team for the year. Like Joe, help me out. Like, are we just dumping salary? Is that all we're doing?
I don't know what you guys are doing, to be perfectly honest. I don't know why IKF wasn't traded. I don't know why Pham wasn't traded. I don't know why Keller wasn't traded. At least he traded Bednar. But from what I understand, and Welsh can speak more to the prospects, it was kind of an underwhelming return for Bednar a little bit.
No, that's why I went, because you guys got a kid. This is not for this show, but Rafael Flores was a great get for them. Right. Super sneaky, good power. I think up to AAA catcher. I actually really like that get for what is, a rental type of closer. They didn't blow it out of the market, but I actually think they did a decent job in that trade. But it's more negative that they had so many players they did not trade and get anything for, but they did a good job on the Bednar side.
Free bet. I'm giving everyone right now. I'm betting the under on the Pirates season win total next year. Just gonna do it out of spite. I'm going to go down there at PNC. I'll still enjoy my icy light down by the river, but I'm going to be, secretly hoping potentially for some losses out there.
True gambler. Bet out of spite.
There you go. Fantasy Pros is now live on Twitch. Since opening day, Joe Pisapia, Chris Welsh, and Joe Orrico have been live every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern for Leading Off. That's your daily dose of all things baseball, news, notes, bets, and fantasy advice, all in one place. Ask questions, get insight, and interact live. Follow us now at twitch.tv/fantasypros, and you're never going to miss a stream. A bigger lineup of exclusive interactive live content is on the way, including some NFL stuff, guys. It's been a lot of fun over there in the Twitch streets over the past few weeks, so make sure you're hanging out with us over there at twitch.tv/fantasypros. All right, guys, let's talk about the trade deadline and how to exploit this shifting futures landscape. Welsh, do you think the window is now open, that this market is potentially exploitable? Like, should we be diving in head first right now, or is it still kind of proceed with caution?
No, I think I laid it out. I think what I started the show with, in my mind, is teams that made significant moves that I think can close the gap, that still have odds that you want to play. So I would say, yes, it is exploitable. The example is the Padres, the Mariners, whether it's playing divisions, getting to the World Series. Like, pitching is going to get you in September and October. And I'm looking at the teams. I don't think enough teams made big starting pitcher moves, but these teams that went heavy in on relievers, I think that's a great play. Why I like the Padres. The Mariners already had such a great rotation to me that they were missing the offensive piece. They did that. So, yeah, I don't think the markets are going to move quick on teams like the Dodgers and, frankly, would be the Yankees and the Red Sox. But guess what? None of the big teams made the big impactful moves. It was these smaller teams that the markets are not willing to move off of the big dogs or anything. And that's why, like, the Padres are a good get, because they're still facing up against the Dodgers. But the Padres made moves literally across the board. So, yes, the answer to it, and I think I laid it out with my opening bets, is I do think the trade market creates some exploitable opportunities.
Joe, what's your strategy when it comes to unit allocation here for August in the futures market? Are we dumping a bunch back in? Is this a time to maybe start hedging some of your other bets that didn't pan out earlier this season? How are you kind of playing this as we head down the stretch? And, odds are going to continue to get shorter and shorter as the season progresses here.
Yeah, for me, when you're betting, it's more front loaded. I like to place them more earlier in the
Okay.
season. You get the better odds. At this time of year, like we've kind of laid out, if you're betting on any of the futures, either you're taking a huge long shot that's going to be, plus 1,000 or even
Hmm.
worse, or you're betting somebody who is like, you're taking Drake Baldwin for Rookie of the Year and it's minus 200. So I feel like you get a lot more value betting earlier in the season. This time of year, a lot of things are going to change in terms of the markets after the trade deadline. And I think maybe sometimes they can overcorrect a little bit. Baseball is a team sport more than maybe
Yeah.
any other sport. And one player can only do so much. So there are going to be teams, maybe it's, take any team that made a big acquisition. They're gonna see their odds that are shifted, whether it's for the division, World Series, whatever. But a lot of the time, it doesn't make a huge impact the way those teams are expecting and the way the odds makers are expecting. I mean, this is an extreme example, but look at Mike Trout. The guy's never won anything. You can be as great as you can possibly
Yeah.
be, and you're only one guy. So these teams that are acquiring one or two players and you're seeing big line shifts, I think some of the time that's overplayed, and they probably shouldn't be moving as much as they are.
Something that I often like to do in motorsports futures or also in NFL futures is start parlaying some of these heavy favorites at the end of the year. So maybe you go get yourself like a Skubal Cy Young ticket. Put that with Tawny or something like that, and start kind of building that positive EV up as we close the season. But just something I remember last year I put out a Joe Burrow comeback player of the year ticket with a Josh Allen MVP, and was able to get a nice return, even though that was way more of a sweater than it should have been because Lamar was awesome down the stretch. But let's go ahead, though, guys. Let's round out the program as we always do with our favorite futures long shots of the month. Welsh, this has kind of been your sweet spot this season. So what do you have for us today that we need to be investing in before it's gone?
Yeah, and it's just so much more diminished. We had such cool ones early
Yeah.
on in the season, and just things have floated. So it is a lot harder to find something that is, we take like usually like 8-1 plus. We want to go in bigger.
Yeah.
This one does stand out to me, and I've talked a lot about it in this show. But I'm gonna go back to the Padres here, and I obviously you've got the Phillies who are dangerous. You've got the Dodgers that are dangerous. They've got to get through that divisionally, but you can play the Padres to get to the World Series 11-1 right now. So there's a big task, and I suppose you could probably argue the AL might be a better place to play that. But by the way, the Mariners to get to the World Series, it's worse odds, and they you've
Really?
got the Yankees, so that they are, I think it's closer to 8-1. But I love that they went all in. I think it's imperative that they obviously win for what they did. But you take O'Hearn, who is going into a worse environment for a lefty, but with what he's done this year, it's more lineup protection. Laureano, defensively and offensively, Laureano's had a crazy sneaky season. They've got bench help. If Jackson Merrill just picks it up on the back half, this is paired with a Yu Darvish who found a mechanical change and just spun a great one. A bullpen that will allow Dylan Cease to not go deep into games. Michael King, who could be rehabbing this weekend, that we could get back very soon. You've got your rotation kind of back. You have one of them from Estrada to Morion to Jason Adam to Robert Suarez to Mason Miller. You could let your starters go 4 innings if you want and put out those relievers. They've got a great bullpen. They've got solid starters that need a few things to go their way, and I think a lineup that is now fully competitive across the board. In where the Dodgers are a little wonky right now. I think the Phillies are probably the scariest here, but at 11-1, I like taking this bet because if they do move through the World Series, you're going to get buyout opportunities, or through the playoffs, so you get some buyout opportunities. But at 11-1 with what the Padres did, I think this is like a solid long shot bet that we're making in August.
Joe, anything you're seeing from a long shot standpoint right now that we should be considering?
So like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be speaking out of both sides of my mouth a little bit, and I'm sitting on the fence here because there's a couple different things that could happen with Aaron Judge. Like I mentioned earlier, maybe he comes back and he's hampered a little bit, and that would leave an opportunity for Cal Raleigh. But what if Aaron Judge comes back and he's fine? Because this is a very short stay on the IL. Doesn't seem to be any huge problem. You can bet Aaron Judge to lead Major League Baseball in home runs, and you can get it at plus 1,600 right now. He's only 5 back of Cal Raleigh for the Major League lead. So there is some risk you're taking here. If Judge comes back and he's not himself, then this is not going to work out. But at 16-1, I mean, he's only 5 home runs back. That's a good week for Aaron Judge. It's a good series for Aaron Judge if he is right. So I think that those odds, we've talked a lot today about how it's hard to find good odds on anything. This one does seem like a no-brainer. Even if you're just sprinkling $5 or $10 on it, it does seem like there's a good chance if Aaron Judge does come back and he's healthy the way that the Yankees are saying, that he's going to walk away with this.
I love this one too, by the way, because I remember I had a bet like this months and months ago, and it was for Ohtani.
Yeah.
And it looks okay. Ohtani's 2 in the home run market, but Judge is 1 behind him with that missed time. So it's like this is now where you want to talk about that hedging. Like if I had this with this Ohtani ticket, I don't hate the idea of getting a 16-1 on Judge, and you're getting 2 of the 3 top guys. Obviously, Raleigh has it right now, but it's not impossible. 15 homers in the last like 45 days from Judge. It's not out of pocket. So this might be a scenario where me personally having the Ohtani bet, I could hedge on it. But just in general, like a 16-1 for Judge to do it when he's coming back in the next couple of days, I think this is a really sneaky one. I like this probably better than my pick if we're going for the long shots.
I know that obviously the Mariners are going to need Cal as much as they can, but being a catcher, will he see more rest days down the stretch as we get later in the season, you think, Welsh?
That's an interesting way to speculate it. I'm going to have to say no, though. I think like, this division is too tight. You know, both the 3 big guys in this division, they all made moves. The Angels are making moves. They all were making moves. I think it's super, super tight. This is not the time where you can rest. They could obviously DH him if they want, but I think they need his bat in the lineup every single day.
He's played 107 out of 110 games, and they are DHing him a little bit, but maybe one day off a week, maybe, but other than that, I don't think so.
The guy's quads have to be unreal. Holy cow. Good for him. Good for him, man. Well, all right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for us today on the Betting Pros podcast. Thank you so much for watching. As always, the best free way to support us here is give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy this type of content. Also, make sure you're subscribing if you're new. And be sure to download the Betting Pros app and sync your sportsbooks today. For Chris Welsh and Joe Orrico, I'm Seth Woolcock. Take care, y'all.